It's been an exciting journey, creating from scratch a solution geared to address a serious problem facing our smallholder poultry farmer. A solution we are calling Zamuka. The story begins in February 2024. I had, prior to that, I had obsessed so much about what we needed to do after engaging and working within the tech industry from July 2018. I worked within Rwanda's tech industry where I was part of a team that created from scratch a ticketing platform known as RG Tickets. Now, you are aware that ticketing is about events, and events is about leisure. I asked myself a fundamental question. How about if we obsessed and we started seriously thinking about tackling a basic need? And when you're talking about a basic need, we're talking about food. And when you're talking about food, you're talking about agriculture generally and farming in particular. And so what I did is I narrowed down to one segment of farming, which was smallholder poultry farming. And to be precise, a type of smallholder poultry farming known as free-range system of farming. And there you go. That's how now I started thinking about what needed to be done. And the pain points came through, the 3 pain points. I learned that farmers lack access to markets, they lack access to technical knowledge, and they lack access to production credit. And so the next thing was to assemble a team. And when I talk about a team, I'm talking about a technical team, software engineers. And one of my colleagues with whom we had worked on the RG Tickets platform came on board. And I realized that the volume of work that needed to be done was too much, and I didn't want to stress my colleague. And so I reached out to my sources, and that is how the third co-founder, known as Daniel Gakwe, who is based in Nairobi, came on board. And so my colleague, Fabrice Stana, and myself and Daniel, we formed the 3 musketeers who started working on the agri-fintech idea. So we started obsessing. What did we actually want to achieve at the outset? In other words, how were we going to create a minimum viable product? So after several sessions, we realized that in order to onboard farmers in East Africa or in the entire continent of Africa rarely use emails. So we decided that we were going to use an SMS-based module, a registration module, to onboard the farmers. And that module took us a couple of weeks or 1 or 2 months, and we were done with it. And after that, we decided that we needed to give the platform a look and feel, because this is technology, and so we got into creating a logo for it, a color scheme, and all the elements that should be able to brand the venture. All that took a couple of months, and by July of 2024, the idea started taking shape. The next point after that was I was thinking about what many of the so-called tech developers do, which is to create a venture that hangs, that has no connection to the situation on the ground. And more so, if we were talking about farming, then there was a need to actually have a real connection with African farmers. And so from around July, I started obsessing, how do we do that? And what came to my mind was that we needed to develop a real brick and mortar system, farmer centers, and what is known within this parlance as hubs. And so from July, August, September, October, I was on a mission to look for a suitable site. And by October and November, I zeroed down on a site in Muhazi, in Romagana, in Eastern Province. And in Muhazi, we acquired a site which was formerly operating as a boarding primary school. I think it's called Muhazi Boarding Primary School. So we acquired that site, and I can tell you that we are happily in the final stages of signing a lease agreement for a 1 hectare site, along with the bulk of the physical properties that are on that site, for use as our first operating site. And consensus has already been reached. What we are now doing is fundraising. And so we created a fundraising list, and we talked to several potential investors. And out of the more than 15 or so investors, the first investor that came through was Microsoft. Yes, you heard me right. Microsoft, one of the biggest tech investors in the whole world, came through. And Microsoft gave Zamuka a grant of 150,000 United States of American dollars in form of free Azure credit. That news came through on the 27th of February 2025. Without a doubt, it was big news. It was from a psychological point of view. It was a major enabler, a major enabler. And as we are having this discussion, we are transitioning or migrating our data, that we had created from the server that we had bought by around December 2024. We had procured a server for maybe $200-300. Now what we are doing right now is we are now migrating from that server to Azure, and this is totally exciting. Now going forward, we have stepped up our fundraising, and we believe that by around August we should be able to have on site and concluded our first paying investor. And immediately after that, we intend to commence the beta testing program for Zamuka, which should commence as from August 2025 to March 2026, after which we should be able to formally launch the platform at a suitable venue right here in Kigali. So that wraps up our venture creation story from February 2024 to where we are right now.